Thank you for joining us and watching this presentation from the Los Angeles Housing Department. This webinar will provide an overview of the Rent Stabilization Ordinance, RSO, and the current COVID-19 renter protections in the City of Los Angeles due to the city's declaration of emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which will expire on January 31st, 2023. The information provided on this webinar is only for residential properties located within the City of Los Angeles. This webinar does not provide information for commercial units or properties located outside the boundaries of the City of Los Angeles. The webinar will provide an overview of the following topics: City versus County of Los Angeles areas, what is Rent Stabilization Ordinance, also known as the RSO, registration requirements for RSO units, AB 1482 state law rent regulation, COVID-19 renter protections update as of December 13, 2022, and how to contact the Los Angeles Housing Department, also known as LAHD. The City of Los Angeles is located within the County of Los Angeles. To determine if you live within the City of Los Angeles, you can visit the ZEMA's website at zemas.lacity.org. Other ways to know if you live in the City of Los Angeles is if you have an electric or water bill from the Department of Water and Power, also known as DWP. If DWP is your provider or you have had the LAPD in your neighborhood, then you live in the City of Los Angeles. If you have a utility bill from Edison for electricity, this means you do not live within the City of LA. Another option to determine if you live in the City of Los Angeles is to visit the city's neighborhood info page. After you type in your rental unit address, and if it provides you information, you live in the city. If it says nothing found, then your property is not located in the City of Los Angeles. This webinar is only for rental properties located within the City of LA. If you do not live in the City of LA, please contact the Los Angeles County for information related to tenant and landlord housing information, as the information of the city and the county differ. The city's Rent Stabilization Ordinance, also known as the RSO, are rental units that are located within the City of Los Angeles, have a permit and/or certificate of occupancy issued by the Department of Building and Safety on or after October 1st, 1978. Some properties that were built after July 16, 2007 may also be subject to the city's RSO if the original property was subject to the RSO and then demolished and replaced with a newer residential property. The RSO stabilizes rents by allowing annual rent increases, provides just cause evictions, which means tenants must receive a reason to terminate their tenancy, and the payment of relocation assistance is required to tenants if a landlord wishes to evict a tenant for no fault of their own, such as for a landlord to occupy the rental unit, to move in a resident manager, or to demolish and or remove the property from the rental housing market, also known as the Ellis Act. The city has approximately 640,000 rental units subject to the RSO, which is about 118,000 properties. As previously mentioned, to find out if a rental property is subject to the city's RSO, you can visit zemas.lacity.org. Enter your rental property address, and under the tab Housing, it will say yes or no if the property is subject to the RSO. Another quick option is to text RSO using your phone to the telephone number 855-880-7368 and follow the prompts. All RSO properties must be registered annually with LHD. Registration includes the registration fees and completion of the RED registry. Registration must be completed by the last day of February in order to avoid late fees. At the time of registration, landlords can also fill out an exemption form, which is included in the annual bill if they live in the rental unit or have rental units in which they do not collect rent, such as family members that may live in their units and not pay rent. An exemption form would need to be completed in order to avoid registration and/or late fees. The RSO registration fee is $38.75 per rental unit. Once paid, the landlord can provide a tenant with a 30-day advance written notice to recoup 50% of the registration fee at $1.61 a month. Additionally, all RSO and non-RSO multifamily properties are charged a systematic code enforcement program fee, also known as SCEP. The SCEP fee is $67.94 per rental unit. Once paid, the landlord can provide a tenant with a 30-day advance notice to recoup the 50% of the SCEP fee at $2.83 a month. The collection of both fees is also known as a surcharge to the tenant. Once a landlord pays the registration fees and submits a completed rent registry, a landlord is given a registration certificate. Without this certificate, a landlord cannot legally demand and collect rent from a tenant. The state of California passed a law in 2019 known as the Tenants Protection Act of 2019, or others may refer to it as Assembly Bill 1482 or AB 1482. This law does not apply to rental units subject to the city's RSO, but applies to most properties that are 15 years and older. Since we are in the year 2022, it would apply to properties built before December 2007. Then next month, which will be January 2023, it will apply to properties built before January 2008 and so forth. This legislation provides statewide tenant protections, including limits on rent increases, protections from evictions without cause, and relocation fees for no-fault evictions. Properties subject to AB 1482 may include single-family homes and condominiums. Rent increases for these properties effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2023 are capped at 10%. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the city declared a local emergency on March 4th, 2020, which will terminate on February 1st, 2023. This means, although the City Council has approved other related tenant protections and recommendations, they still have not been drafted into law. As of today, the current provisions are effective until amended by the City Council and signed into law. Beginning on February 1st, 2023, tenants must pay their full current monthly rent in order to avoid eviction for non-payment of rent. This means if the rent is due on the 1st, tenants must pay their full February 2023 rent to avoid receiving a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit from their landlord. The city still provides tenants a year to pay back any unpaid rental debt accrued due to COVID-19. So rent debt owed from March 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, tenants have until August 1st, 2023 to pay back this rent. Rent owed from October 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2023, tenants have until February 1st, 2024 to pay back that accrued rent. The state also passed legislation which provides if city residents complied, they would have additional eviction protections for non-payment of rent. This was a law to provide additional protections to tenants that if they submitted a COVID-19 related declaration of financial distress form by the 15-day deadline for rent owed from March 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2020, they could not be evicted for this rent, and the landlord would have to pursue a small claims court action to collect this rent. Additionally, if the tenant provided this same form and paid 25% of the rent owed from September 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, a landlord would have to pursue this debt in small claims court, also known as consumer debt. Regardless, if a tenant did not follow the state law, Tenants still have a year to pay back their accrued rental debt, as I explained earlier, by August 1st, 2023 and February 1st, 2024. No-fault evictions do continue for RSO renters. However, landlords still need to seek approval from LHD in order to evict a tenant for owner occupancy, to move in a resident manager, to comply with a government order that provides a unit must be vacated, or for demolition or permanent removal under the Ellis Act process. Declarations of intent to evict forms are required for all no-fault eviction for rental units subject to the RSO. LAHD will begin to accept these forms on or after February 1st, 2023. Tenants evicted for no fault are required to receive relocation assistance and advance written notice to terminate their tenancy. Rent increases have also been prohibited for rental units subject to the RSO as of March 30th, 2020. Due to the city ending its local emergency on February 1st, 2023, rent increases for RSO properties may resume on February 1st, 2024. No retroactive rent increases will be allowed. The department will post the annual allowable rent increase percentage before the February 1st, 2024 date. All the COVID-19 renter protections discussed in this webinar can be found online on the COVID-19 renter protections page. Please continue to check LHD's webpage for updated information, since, as previously mentioned, can be changed. This webinar will also soon be posted online. If you have questions that were not addressed during this webinar, you can reach us at our hotline at 866-557-7368, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., or you can send us an email inquiry at housing.lacity.org/ask-housing. We appreciate you taking the time to learn about the city's RSO and current COVID-19 renter protections, and we will continue to keep you updated as they evolve. Thank you.